problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either.
Yes, political correctness is out. American exceptionalism is back, ready to re-empower our republic as one nation under God by restoring our unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, with your host, John Matthews,
the latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time,
and Joe Hakos.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts of the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And greetings across this great land of ours and around the world. It's that time once again for the Conservative Syndicate, coming to you live coast to coast, where it's prime time, sometime, all the time, someplace. We're glad to have you with us today. Got some good stuff to talk about today. Okay, I guess the breaking news, if you haven't heard by now, the Republican repeal and replace bill crashed and burned today in the halls of the House of Representatives, and thankfully so. We've got a few conservatives out there in Congress, and they are to be applauded and lauded as true Americans, that they would stand up against this onslaught of establishment operatives trying to do nothing more than transfer the control of our healthcare system to a different group of idiots. It's just a matter of changing it from one group of idiots to the other group of idiots, and aptly so, it was shut down. Our government is alive and well and functioning right now. Yes, we don't have to be proud of many in Congress today, and we're not proud of them, who seem to think that governing means doing something, even if it isn't the right thing to do. But we do have some people, we do have a remnant out there that understand their job is to do what their constituents elected them to do and not what the establishment requires of them to do. So I give applaud and kudos. Rand Paul, although he didn't vote today, this was a House vote, Rand Paul has climbed up on my list of respectable people in Washington. I've at times listened to this man talk, and I wonder just how brain defective he is. But when it comes to stuff like this guy is always spot on. And it's going to be interesting to see how some of those people, there were a few people in the Senate. I don't think it would have got past the Senate either, because we do have a few, very few, but we have a few senators out there that I don't think would have supported this. So it remains to be seen what happens now. It's going to go on the shelf for a while. Maybe that's what the Republicans may have been planning to do all along. Because they govern by complicity. They govern by just talking and parading around and rattling their sabers and then doing absolutely nothing. So in the end, they can't really be blamed for anything. That's the strategy of most Republican members today, especially the leadership. So having said that, let me get my partner in crime on here. How are you doing today, Joe?
I'm good, John. I'd just like to know where in the hell these Republicans got the idea that Americans wanted government to run health care. I don't get this at all. Where did they get this idea? From Democrats? We've been screaming about it since 2009 that we didn't like it. What made them think that we wanted a Republican flavor of government-run health care? What is wrong with these people?
Well, I think it's it's a rather simplistic answer. I think the fact is that the Republican leadership in particular, and then the minions that follow along, they get their They make their decisions based on what the polls are saying. They get their information based on what the media is out there advancing as a narrative. They're not. I don't think. Joe. Look, let's look at it this way. We just know all these people. We got all these a series of all these reports of all these people going to town halls.
John, if that's the case, if they were going by the polls and what the people, only 17% of the people liked this bill. The rest of America didn't like it.
Well, I get that, but those aren't the polls. Those aren't the polls that they're looking at. The polls they're looking at is the favorability polls, things like that. Things not dealing with issues. God forbid we should look at something that's going on with issues. It's all about, how electable am I going to be next time around? That's what I mean in terms of polls. And in this series of articles that we were barraged with over the last 2-3 weeks about the resist Trump movement out there and everything that's out there showing up in these town halls, the organized protesters and everything else. This is what they listen to. This is what, so it's kind of like, we have to wrest control away from the Democrats regarding health care, and that means that we have to offer something that lets us run it instead of listening to the people that elected Donald Trump on the promise of we are going to repeal every word of Obamacare. Okay, I don't remember anybody supporting Trump saying, yeah, I hope they repeal and replace Obamacare. It was, I hope they get rid of this monstrosity and let's toss it in the trash bin where it belongs. Let's turn this back over to the free market. And then through our Commerce Department, let's tear down the borders. Let's create the competition that everybody's always ranting and raving that we need. And let's do it that way. Why don't we just give it back to the free market and let the free market handle it, reduce all the regulations and rules so that the free market can deal with it. Hey, guess what? It'll be a hell of a lot better. But no, we've got to maintain some kind of control because the Republicans today believe like Democrats. And what is that? We're not governing if we're not passing some freaking law on something, Yeah.
Government loves government. So if you're in the government, you want to have more government. And more government is great government because the government is so good and benevolent to everybody. Yay for government.
Yeah.
I remember a day back in November where we said enough of this government stuff.
Yeah, people in the halls of Congress, they are literally deaf. Either literally deaf or just denying, or not even denying, just deciding. We don't really give a damn what the American public wants. We know what's better. And we've heard that time and time again from these people, not just coming out and out saying that, but they say it in their own way. You Americans, the average citizen doesn't understand how Congress works.
I heard it the other night. I watched a congressman from California, one from New York on television for the 10 minutes I watched it that night, telling this congressman from New York, telling the American, just people are being impatient. They're being impatient. Impatient my ass. I waited 7 damn years to get rid of this damn bill. What are you talking about, impatient?
Yeah.
And then to stand there and go, this bill is great. This thing is good. This thing is so good. We'll revisit this topic in 4 years. Oh, really, Congressman? What are you going to? That's pretty presumptuous of you that you're going to survive a re-election campaign and make it in 20 months. You're going to be there, let alone in 4 years from now.
Yeah, that's something Americans don't often think about, is the fact that a lot of times, given the makeup of Congress right now, by the time 2020 comes around, how many of these people are going to be, maybe one term left away from retiring? And so what happens? You're going to have a whole new breed of people coming in here. This idea that every Congress, every election cycle, every Congress in 2018, we're going to have another Congress. They don't have to honor anything that the previous Congress has done that isn't in the books or on the law books. But this whole idea of governing by doing something, whether it's good or bad, just so we can say we're doing something. Yeah, we're compromising, and that means we're governing. No, you're not. You're compromising. Compromising has nothing to do with governing. Governing means making smart decisions based on what you were elected to do. That's what governing means. That means, you know what? I was telling Joe before the show, a little cliche I heard. I'm going to I'm going to probably put this on a T-shirt and start wearing it around. Conservatism means, when in doubt, don't. Okay, so if you're not assured that what you're doing is the right thing to do, but you're just thinking, well, it's something different. It's not what we have right now, so let's do it anyway, whether it's good or bad. That is not governing. That's idiocracy. That's what that is. So, let's put things in their proper text and perspective. I'm glad this thing died. And I'm glad they're putting it on the shelf. Maybe there might be a couple of thinking people within the halls of Congress right now that might actually go into a hall somewhere, into a room, and say, all right, let's hammer this out. How are we going to replace this thing? How are we going to get it repealed? That should be the discussion. How are we going to get the votes we need to repeal this thing? And then let it go back to the free market. We can pass laws, and we can work through the bureaucracies and the agencies like the Commerce Department and stuff. Let's tear down the borders. Okay, let's allow pharmaceuticals to compete. Let's do all the things that we said we're going to do in this bill. And while we're at it, let's get the hell away from giving block grants to the states. Why don't we just give that money back to the states and let the states determine whether they want an exchange? Let the states determine on the ballot whether they want to have government-funded health care. And let's get the hell away from this. We got bigger problems, like maybe our borders, perhaps. What we were actually elected to do, protect our Constitution and the borders. Maybe we should be talking about that crap right now instead of this. So it is what it is. Hey, we got to go to a break. When we get back, we'll continue our discussion. We got some good stuff for you today. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
We're not arguing. We're explaining why we're right. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment, and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
That America must put its own citizens first, because only then can we truly make America great again.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
All right. Hey, this is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and we're gonna go back down memory lane here just for a few moments here, and just kind of because the failure of the Health Care Act to pass today is a moment of celebration for those of us who understand what Donald Trump was elected to do, but it is. We need to kind of put some historical context to this because the GOP doesn't seem to remember why Donald Trump was elected or chose to ignore it. Anyway, you have the con, Joe. You've got something you want to share.
Yeah, okay. So Republicans were elected, as we recall, the mantra was repeal Obamacare. They would repeal Obamacare. So they got elected somewhat after Obamacare was passed in 2010. They got control of the House once again for the first time in forever. And then in 2012, they retained control of the House. Not so much the Senate. They picked up a few seats. 2014, they were able to get the Senate. They held on to the Senate in 2016. What I have to play for you is then minority leader of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, then minority leader. This is from 2013 at CPAC. So let me just go ahead and I'll probably pause this a little bit for emphasis. So here we go with Mitch McConnell at CPAC in 2013.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to be here. I want you to take a look at that stack of paper behind me. It's the most powerful argument yet against Obamacare. What you're seeing is 20,000 pages of rules and regulations.
Okay, so that's what he's talking about was a stack of paper, 8.5 by 11 paper on a moving dolly that they brought out that stood about 7.5 feet tall. That was behind him. Yes, 20,000 pages of Obamacare. And Mitch McConnell that's a nice visual aid he liked to bring out there. Very good, Mitch. Yes, thanks.
20,000 pages. And if you think that's bad, wait till they try to fix it.
Oh, yeah. Wait till they try. Oh, you mean like Republicans just tried to do today? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On Wednesday, we had a vote in the Senate to defund this monstrosity. Every single Republican voted to defund Obamacare. And, of course, every Democrat voted the other way. And that's what these Democrats voted for. This monument to liberalism right here behind me. They're going to have a lot of fun explaining that to their constituents, I can tell you that.
Yeah, and as they tried to explain it to their constituents, they were summarily thrown the hell out of Congress. Hence the Republican victories in 2014 and 2016. Yay for the Republicans.
This law is a disaster. Anybody who thinks we've moved beyond it is dead wrong. Obamacare should be repealed, root and branch. And I want you to know we're not backing down from this fight.
So, yeah, repealed, root and branch. I don't hear anything about replacing it with anything. Repealed, root and branch. That's what they ran on right there. You wanted to know what they ran on? There it is right there. There's your memory lane. Yeah. So what about that? What do they try to do today? Yeah, exactly. Were they going to repeal it, root and branch? Didn't seem like that was what's happening today. For the past few weeks, that's not what we heard. It was, yeah, we're going to try to fix this monstrosity, this monument to liberalism, as McConnell put it. Yeah. I think that's all I got for now, John, for right now.
Yeah, well, I get you there. Now, again, we're trying to put some real historical context to this, guys. And this was CPAC in 2013. That was 4 years ago. The bill was passed. Obamacare was instigated or initiated into law in 2009. And from the very outset, we started hearing Republicans telling, oh, no, this is no good. This is no good. We got to get rid of this. We got to get rid of this. This was passed with deals behind closed doors. We got to read the bill to find out what's in it. This is not good. It's gonna screw up businesses, blah, blah, blah. We've been hearing that narrative now for 7 years. 2013, Mitch McConnell trots out 20,000 pages of paper, puts it in a stack, and then uses that as a visual aid as to how bad Obamacare is, and we have to repeal this. We have to trash it. We have to get rid of it. And here we are yesterday or today voting on a bill that is, I think, a total of maybe 123 pages, but some of those pages have disappeared because of last-minute amendments trying to appease the crowd. Remember, Obamacare was set to fail also until they made some behind-the-door deals with Bert Stepek. And remember Bert Stepek, the senator, I believe he was. He could have been in the House of Representatives, but he was in Congress. And him and 6 other people had said, if you're going to fund abortion, we don't want any part of this. Okay, so the behind-the-door deal was made. Oh, government can't fund abortion. Well, that turned out to be a lie on par with you can keep your doctor and keep your plan. But the whole point being is that they had to do last-minute dealings to get it, and they shoved it down our throats. Republicans have pulled off basically the same kind of thing. Now, what I want to share with you is kind of like just a few lines out of Paul Ryan's statement today when the decision was made to pull the bill from the floor. Didn't even go to a vote today because they knew they didn't have the votes to get this thing going. All right, so. I'm just going to read you these things and just to highlight what I think you really need to grab out of this, all right? He says, I spoke to the president just a little while ago, and I told him the best thing I think to do is to pull this bill, and he agreed with the decision. I will not sugarcoat this. This is a disappointing day for us. Doing big things is hard. Yeah, when's the last time you've done anything big, you jackass? Okay, it's not hard if you know how to tackle these kind of problems. It's not hard. It wouldn't have been hard if you had been doing something since 2009 to put something in place to repeal this and have a plan, not a bill, but a plan that puts this back into the hands of free market in a way that the free market could pick up your pieces and fix this. The free market works that way. The free market knows how to adapt to economic situations. It knows how to fix. It knows how to change because they're motivated by what? By profit. You're not motivated by profit. You're motivated by politics. And there's a big deal because politics has no price tag other than what your establishment people throw into your war chests every election cycle. But you don't look at things through the cost prism. You talk about cost, but you don't look at the cost. You just like, well, it's going to cost more, it's going to cost less, but you don't even know the mechanics of that. One of the things about Paul Ryan is everybody's always touted this guy as some kind of policy wonk. I beg to differ. If you can't look at the math of something as something, if you're putting out a business plan and you can't figure out the math of what it's going to cost your business to break even and when you're going to start making profit, you shouldn't be planning anything. All right? The conservative adage applies to you. When in doubt, don't. All right? So he goes on to say, all of us, myself included, we will need time to reflect on how we got to this moment and what we could have done to do it better. You should have been reflecting on this crap 8 years ago.
Hell, John, this guy said he's been working on this for 20-some years.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, but you would think in the last 8 years you might have narrowed it down to something. You might have gotten, you might have reduced 40,000 ideas down to a few. And when you have the general, you have the direction, you have the agenda put before you by the voters. Repeal this thing. Repeal this thing. It takes a lot less work to just cancel something out than it does to figure out, well, how do we just redo it? It doesn't. It's easier to downsize than it is to revamp something in a way that just expands. And in some ways, this bill expanded immensely. The cost is not, we talk about the cost. Cost in politics is irrelevant. That's just something that's thrown out there because it helps their narrative one way or the other. But they don't have any idea what costs are. They don't know how this thing is going to work down the road. They don't know how the economy is going to evolve down the road. So you can't sit here and be projecting out here, okay, in 20 years this is what we're going to have. You don't know what this country's going to be like in 20 years. Jesus, who would have figured we're at the place we are now just 10 years ago? So, to put things in perspective here, this is Republican utopianism. You guys think you know how you're going to create society 10, 20 years? Leave that to the liberals. They're the wackos. They're the illusionists out there, or delusionists. Okay, but here is where it just struck me. It struck me. With the crucial vote delayed, the blame game is likely to begin. At his press conference, Ryan attributed the failure to the growing pains, listen to this, guys, to the growing pains that come from moving from an opposition party to a governing party. Let's just digest that thought for a minute here. These guys haven't been thinking about governing for how long?
I don't know, John. They've only had control of Congress for at least 4 years now. I think it's closer to 6.
Yeah. So I guess we are to assume from this that you guys have been waiting to get somebody in the White House before you decide that it's time to govern. That's what I draw out of this. You've had Congress for 4 years. You've had it. You've had the majority. And have you not been thinking about governing for the last 4 years? Of course you haven't. We know that. Because what have you been? You've been the opposition party. You haven't been the party of no. You've been the party of we don't know. Okay? And we're not going to do anything right now because we don't have somebody in the White House. That's what we got. First, we need a majority, guys. Give us a majority. Okay, we gave you a majority. Now give us a White House. Now that we have everything, now we have to move from being an opposing party to a governing party. Let's put this in perspective. Have the Democrats ever stopped trying to govern even though they've been a minority? Look at what they're doing today. They are still leaps and bounds ahead of the Republican Party in terms of advancing their narrative and having strategies to deal with things. They're gonna filibuster Neil Gorsuch's nomination. That is a strategy. They knew this going in. They knew this the day that they knew Merrick Garland was not going to be confirmed. This is our plan, guys. That's when they sat down and said, this will be our plan. Whoever Trump throws up or whoever wins, if the Republican wins, whoever they throw up, we are going to filibuster. All right, they already made a decision. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to make it look like we've interrogated the guy, we've questioned him, we've put all our ducks in a row here, and we've determined that this guy is unqualified. That was never the thing. The thing was we're going to filibuster this guy until the cows come home, because maybe we can inspire our base. We got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll have Bob Cardoso with us. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Red State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
Red State Talk Radio is now available as a voice command on your Amazon Echo and Echo Dot by simply saying, Alexa, play Red State Talk Radio.
Red State Talk Radio on TuneIn.
Are you behind on your taxes? The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294.
You know, sometimes when you compare prices on products, you think to yourself, what difference does it make? The rates are all about the same anyway, but sometimes the rates are very different. Let me give you an example where there's a huge difference in pricing between companies. Vehicle protection plans. Look, if your car is 4 years or older, having a vehicle protection plan is a no-brainer. The trick is not to overpay for it. Here are the facts. The average price of a vehicle protection plan is $2,800, while the price of a TOCO warranty vehicle protection plan for most vehicles is just $1,500. The average down payment on a vehicle protection plan is $299. With TOCO warranty, there's no down payment. The average monthly payment on a vehicle protection plan is more than $160 a month. With TOCO, the average monthly payment is just $49. To get a highly rated vehicle protection plan at a great low rate, call TOCO Warranty at 1-800-987-1519. That's 1-800-987-1519. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for MyPillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. MyPillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable MyPillow is with its patented interlocking fill. MyPillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. MyPillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. MyPillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. MyPillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code RedState. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code RedState. Put sleepless nights behind you with MyPillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
If you've got joint pain, let me ask you a question. Would you like a high-quality knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? But just in case your reception isn't great, let me ask you again. Would you like a pain-relieving knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Well, if you have Medicare insurance, you could qualify for these pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And these are high-quality braces. They are very comfortable, and they've helped thousands relieve their pain. Now, I'd like you to imagine going on vacation, playing with your grandkids, just living your life again without pain. The Mobility Hotline is a referral service that connects folks with Medicare coverage and other insurance to accredited companies offering pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And don't you worry about the Medicare paperwork. They'll handle it all for you. And they'll deliver your braces for free. Call the Mobility Hotline now. The call's free. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150.
Are you struggling with addiction or alcohol problems? If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help, and your insurance may offer coverage.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-518-1573, 800-518-1573.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-518-1573, 800-518-1573.
Red State Talk Radio. Real radio for real Americans.
Believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America.
Am I not speaking English?
TheConservativeSyndicate.net, where we speak only one language, American.
All right, hey, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and we're lining up right now to get our good buddy Bob Cardoso over at Robert Cardoso Live online with us. He's simulcasting at the same time we are. That's why we kind of wait to the last minute here. I don't want to interrupt his program with our commercials, because I think at that time he's playing his own. So anyway, we'll wait for him to hook up here. There he is. How you doing, Bob?
Hey, doing good, John. Joe, how you doing? John. It's John and Joe. It's the John and Joe show. Bob's just somewhere else.
Well, the big news today, Bob. Big news.
Oh, man.
GOP bill crashed and burned as we had hoped it would. I don't know what your feelings are on it, but that's why that's why we called you. What are you thinking about this?
Well, you know what? Unfortunately, I do not like Obamacare, but you know what? I also don't like anything that they're trying to pass half-cocked without it really putting all the pieces of it together so that it'll work. They're doing the same doggone thing the Democrats did with Obamacare 7 or 8 years ago. They're trying to pass it without anybody knowing how anything is going to work, and it has negative effects on a great many people. And so the truth is, I'm glad it didn't pass. But there's another thing that I'm kind of glad about, and that is that I think that President Trump is finding out that the President of the United States does not run the Congress, he doesn't run the party, and he doesn't run the judicial part of the government. For me, that's a little refreshing because I'm starting to get a little scared.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Sean Spicer was asked about this today in a press conference about his, or yesterday, I believe it was, about Trump out there trying to strong-arm the Republicans, and are you gonna, are you upset, or will you be upset if you don't get what you want, kind of thing. Spicer, I think his answer was very appropriate. He said, well, this is not a dictatorship, but of course we heard that from Obama more than once too. So it's just going to be interesting here. I guess my big thing is that the Republican leadership now is trying to convince us that we're pretty much fried right now. We're going to be stuck with Obamacare. And I don't even believe that. I just cannot buy the fact that somewhere along the line here, the Republican leadership has adapted this idea or this paradigm or, this thought process that if we don't get what we want the first time around, I guess we're just going to be stuck with what we got. These guys have had 8 years to figure this out.
Yeah, but the problem is they don't know what they want. The only thing they do know is what they don't want. They don't want Obamacare, but they don't know what they want as a replacement. And isn't that the dumbest thing to have anybody at that level of an executive responsibility? And I'm talking about all the members of Congress. They get paid, if you think about all the per diems and all the perks and things they get, well over $250,000 a year. They get $196,000 a year just in salary. And these guys, they can't even run their own lives, much less ours or any kind of a company.
Well, it's interesting. We were just talking before we got on here with you about the idea that the Republicans, when they talk about things, the Democrats too, when Congress talks about things, they always try to talk about it in terms of the money, and very seldom, if ever, have I seen anything come out of Congress one way or the other, one side or the other, regardless of who has been in office. We can go back to Ronald Reagan, and then you talk about, this is what it's going to cost. It always costs triple when anybody says it's going to cost. So this idea of trotting out money even if you say, okay, even if you think the CBO is credible, which I don't, okay, but you say, okay, you take their numbers, you say, well, this is what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to be like 5 years from now, 6 years from now, 10 years, certainly not 20 years from now. How can you even dare to trot these kind of numbers out? You don't know what inflation's going to do to value. You don't know how the demographics is going to change. You don't know who's going to be running the show. And so the idea of coming out in America, well, 20 years down the road, that's just a big lie to get Americans feeling comfortable that somebody's got a grip on something. Donald Trump proved one thing. The American people don't think Congress has a grip on anything.
That's for sure, John. You know, did you read the thing about the XL pipeline today too? There's something missing out of there. Have you gathered what's missing?
Oh well, I did catch the headline that they approved it.
Yeah, but there's something missing. Donald Trump said that the pipeline would be built in the United States by American workers using United States-made steel. Well, the jobs, I guess, are going to be there, but he's backed off the steel thing, and they're not even talking about it.
Well, that's me. I can give you a response to that because I have been kind of following that off on the side. The problem with Donald Trump coming out and saying that was going to be American steel is a lot of the steel has already been bought. So he had to answer that because that was brought up in one of their press conferences a few weeks ago. Well, Trump says everything has to be American made. Well, what about there were already contracts. There've already been contracts and everything that have been drawn up because there are parts of the Keystone Pipeline that are in the process of being built 2 years now. So apparently, what it is and what Trump meant to say was anything from this point forward has to be purchased on American soil, from American companies. But even that, I don't know if you're going to be able to do that if you've got contracts and everything else. So we'll have to see how that plays out. It's a nice little soundbite, makes everybody feel warm and fuzzy. But I don't think that's a reality here. But we got the pipeline going, which is the thing that we wanted right now. So I don't think...
You know what I'm hoping? I'm hoping that all of this mess in Washington, D.C. hasn't set a negative precedent because I still want to see tax reform and I still want to see infrastructure reform. You know what? I hope that this debacle with the Republican Party and the Democratic Party and even within the Republican Party doesn't create some kind of a stigma against any progress in the future.
Well, I understand the tax reform is the next thing they're talking about tackling. How do you think they're going to screw that up?
Oh, that's an easy thing to screw. We only have somewhere around 8,000 pages of tax law in our government. So screwing up tax reformation is going to be pretty easy. I think that the only thing that has to happen, they need to get rid of this multi-tier system, create a level base of tax, have it apply to everyone equally so that not the top 1 or 2% and not the bottom 1 or 2% gains and everybody in the middle gets hurt. Everybody should be affected equally.
Well, I agree. I'm one of these people. I look at, let's say, just different ideas out there. I don't know. I'd have to really think and study on some of them. But, off the top of my head here, a flat payroll tax, for instance, or some type of national. If you want to catch everybody, you have some kind of national tax, a national sales tax, or something like that. I do believe. I do believe that because then even those below the poverty line, when they buy, at least they have to give something back to the government, even if they're just recycling money that they've received off of welfare or whatever. But and that's how you catch the illegals. That's how you get everybody to pitch into the pot. But I just don't see the Republican establishment taking it the easy way.
No. No, not. You know what? The tax code is very intricate, and there's a lot of bias in the tax code because it depends on what lobbyists you've got working for you, how strong they are, and how effective they are. And there's certainly a lot of quirks in the tax code. And the people that can afford to get that kind of representation are the ones that are getting helped, and that's not middle America. I guess guaranteed. Middle America pays the bill to the United States government and pays dearly. And it's because of the way the tax law is skewed. You may or may not even be aware of the fact that only about 22% of the nation actually itemizes their tax return. And the only real deductions you can get are if you itemize your tax return. So they can talk about all these deductions and all that you can get, but they're even the charitable deductions, but they're only good for you if you itemize your tax return and get above certain floors or ceilings on those things. And unless you happen to be in that top area, you don't qualify.
Yeah, well, I know one thing. One thing about itemizing, it costs 5 times more to get a tax return done.
Well, you know what? There's one time that I would have argued for that because that's how I made my money, right? I love people. As a matter of fact, I used to do what they referred to as 1040 ECs. That's what they used to call the short form, John. And I used to do those for people for free. And generally, it was my clients' children that I was doing that for. You know, they'd work for McDonald's or they'd work for Burger King or one of those places, and they had nothing income. And so I would tell my clients, hey, bring your kids' taxes to me and I'll do them for free. Well, you know what? It wasn't me being a nice guy. It was me actually marketing for the future, because I wound up doing those kids' taxes after they became adults, had big jobs, got married, and they paid through the nose for their tax returns, but they weren't going to go anywhere else because the only person they really knew and trusted was me.
Yeah, that's smart thinking. We did the easy forms for years until we bought the house, and that's when I noticed the difference. I used to pay like $35-$50 to get my tax return done. We would get by the house, and all of a sudden I'm paying $250 a year to have this. And I'm like, oh man, okay, yeah, I want these deductions. Yeah, if I got to pay this much. Hey, look, we got to go to our break. When we get back, we're going to continue our discussion here with Bob Cardoso. I want to talk about the Gorsuch confirmation, get his take on that. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
There is an old saying, children should be seen but not heard. At no time is this more apparent than when politicians speak. TheConservativeSyndicate.net, the adult in the room. Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them their potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
Am I not speaking English?
TheConservativeSyndicate.net, where we speak only one language, American.
All right, hey, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate with real conservative talk with real conservatives, and we're hooking back up here with Bob, and there he is. Okay, Bob. Bob, the Neil Gorsuch confirmation hearing, the Democrats have announced, not unsurprisingly, today that they're going to filibuster his nomination, and what's your take on that?
I think that the Democrats ought to be taken out behind the barn and beat with a wet noodle and castrated with a dull knife.
Oh, come on now. Chuck Schumer said after careful deliberation, he just could not bring himself to vote for Gorsuch, and he was going to have to not go for it. He was going to have to filibuster it. Come on.
Joe, have you been like, I'm sure you guys are like me. I actually have been watching this man. What an intellectual giant he is, and never fell into the traps of these Democrats trying to get him to raise his temper. This man's a genius. He is really, really, of anybody I've ever seen, a guy that deserves to be on this court.
Well, Chuck Schumer doesn't think so. I mean...
Well, yeah, but I don't think Chuck Schumer should be in Congress either.
Chuck Schumer is being just facetious and just arbitrarily just political on this? Come on, Bob. I find it hard to believe that Chuck Schumer, of all people, would do something like that.
Everything that comes out of Chuck Schumer's mouth smells very similar to everything on the south side of a northbound horse.
I can't believe you do that to a horse.
Yeah. There it is. There's an image I'm going to have to fight off tonight.
If I'm wrong, I thought I had heard that McConnell was going to, if the Democrats did this, he was going to change the rules to a simple majority and to put Gorsuch through.
Well, go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're going to do it like it used to be. In fact, until I think it was 2003, didn't matter who was sitting in the Oval Office, whoever that individual was, got the consideration of whoever they put up for nomination got an up or down vote until, a certain junior senator from New York named Schumer decided, no, we can't have that sort of thing when Bush was in office. So that's when they started this BS of filibustering.
But the leader of the Senate actually has the power to change that rule, doesn't he? I'm not sure about what I'm saying here. But
in fact, hey, Bob, here's how this would work out. You have a certain sitting vice president who is, quote unquote, president of the Senate, sits there and says, I don't think we have to follow that rule. In fact, this nomination is okay for this, and we are able to do it, and we do not need to worry about a filibuster, and we're just going to go vote for it, as they damn well should. And then tell Chuck Schumer, say, you know what, you just gave up your little right to any kind of consideration for at least the next 2 years. So sit down, shut up. We don't care what you do, Chuck.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, but is it going to be that simple, Joe, that the president of the Senate, the vice president of the United States, actually all he has to do is say, we're going to ignore that rule?
Yes, it is that simple. It's a Senate rule. Hey, guess who broke it the last time? Yeah, none other than Harry Reid. So, yeah, it can be done very simply.
Yeah,
so we're still on track by the second week of April having Gorsuch in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all it does is make the Democrats look like who that they are, stupid asses. That's okay.
Yeah. Well,
we'll go anyway.
Let's talk the strategy here just for a second here, why the Democrats would want to do this. The idea here, of course, is to try to look like they're fighting for their base. That's a strategy here. We just can't allow this guy in here because, and I can guarantee you, we'll start seeing if we haven't already. I haven't checked my emails today, so I imagine when I do, I'm going to have all these love letters from Organizing for Action and the Working Families Party and probably individuals at the DNC talking about how the idea that, well, if we get Neil Gorsuch in there, you women aren't going to get your contraception anymore. Abortion's going to be done away with. Roe versus Wade is going to go away. That's what this is all about. This is just trying to, as a minority, trying to create and continue the narrative that anybody that is right of the Democrats is evil for America. They're not American. They're not, there's nothing about them that's American because we've embraced a new America today. America today is ruled by the mob. And that's the narrative from the left. We need rule from the mob, by the mob. So,
hey, John.
Yeah.
John, how did our friend Robert Cardoso just describe Judge Gorsuch? Robert, go ahead and describe him once again for us.
Oh, he's an intellectual giant. He's a genius. This man, if anyone ever deserved to be on the Supreme Court, this has got to be the guy. I've listened to every word this man has said. He is just unbelievably in control and knows exactly what the Constitution's all about.
Okay, so in other words, Chuck Schumer can't accept this guy from Donald Trump. It doesn't matter who Trump would ever go ahead and put up there, because it's not somebody that Chuck Schumer would go ahead and nominate. He's not gonna vote for him. So it just makes him look like the child that he is.
Yeah. He's a spoiled little brat that didn't get his way.
Well, you got the part of that word right, except you put a B on the front of it. He's just a rat.
Yeah. Instead of a B, it should be an R. Is that it?
That's correct, sir.
You know what? I think you're right. You know what? It just irritates me so much to see all this dissension in Washington, D.C. I mean, I expect it from the Democrats, but you know what? I really was hopeful that with a Republican in the White House and a Republican majority in the judicial and the Supreme Court and a Republican-controlled Congress, that we could actually start seeing some headway and some things starting to happen. You know what? It's not that we're going to get everything right, because we're going to make mistakes and we're going to look back and we're going to have to correct some things, but at least we'll be moving in the right direction. You know, even if you fall on your face, you still fall forward.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'll say this here, because we're coming up on the end of our time here. I just want to say this. As a conservative, and it seems I'm having to say this more and more, I have to preface my remarks more and more these days when I talk with people. As a conservative, the rule of thumb, I heard this the other night, and this is becoming my motto: when in doubt, don't. And the idea here is that we're sitting here looking at today with a narrative that says that the Republicans and the Democrats have to learn how to govern, meaning that they have to learn how to compromise. I, for one, am glad that the Ryan Care bill went down in flames today. And it showed that we got enough people in Congress today to block things that are just being voted on for the sake of voting, for wresting power away from one party or the other, and nothing is being done on the behalf with the American people in mind when they're doing it. You look at something like this filibuster of Gorsuch, and what we're looking at here is nothing more than a display of resistance. This is all tied into the Resist Trump movement, hoping that they can motivate their base enough to get out in 2018, maybe take some of the Senate back and reverse that majority. And I guarantee you, if the Democrats are successful at this, if they're able to recapture a majority in the Senate, I guarantee you that they're not going to sit idly by and go to their people and say, well, if we get the House of Representatives, we'll be able to do something. If we get the White House, we're going to be able to do something. They've already got a plan in place. This is the difference today. The Republicans don't have a plan. They just sit there and say, well, we'll just, Paul Ryan said it today, we're trying to go from the opposition party to the governing party. You've been in office for 20 freaking years, dude. Like, you should have been learning how to do this a long time ago. And that's what the difference is here. So this is all display, but the point is it works with Democrats. It works for them. The Republicans don't know what to do, and that never works for them. So we're at this place where we'll just have to see how this plays out. Let's see if Trump can actually become some kind of leader. Right now, I don't see him as that. We'll see what happens.
Here's the thing, John. I could never vote for you, but not because of what you said or how you feel, but because you'd never be living in my district. But I would always support you, and if you wanted to move over here, I'd vote for you too. I just think you're right on track.
Well, I appreciate that. And having said that, we're at the end of our time here. I'll tell everybody out there for you, Bob, because I got to get going here. RobertCardosalive.com, so you can catch his website and you can find out his broadcast time and get his app and do everything. Go to RobertCardosalive.com. We got to go to a break here. We're at the top of the hour. We got David Leach from Strident Conservative checking in with us next hour. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Oh, my goodness. So the statist Republicans trotted out Obamacare Light. I feel it is yet another insult to the American people. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, So now we, the people, are possibly being forced to wait indefinitely before there will be any serious tax cuts because the powers that be decided not to cut one single tax until after Obamacare is replaced. One of the excuses used to drag the process out is certain Senate procedure rules. And also, if Obamacare is totally brought up for a vote, then the progressives like Chucky Schumer will filibuster and prevent any progress. To that I say bunk. Because if they would have done a better job of defending the medical marketplace when Ali Obama was foisting his socialist health-damaging system upon us, perhaps the dilemma they now refer to wouldn't be occurring now. So basically, this drip, drip, drip approach will do little to relieve the burden now faced by the average American who has to endure it, unlike Congress and President Trump, who enjoy a far superior form of health care. Meanwhile, this Step 1, Step 2, Step 3 approach kicks needed tax reductions further down the road. Those midterm elections will be very interesting, to say the least. I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either.
Yes, political correctness is out. American exceptionalism is back, ready to re-empower our republic as one nation under God by restoring our unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, with your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts of the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
All right. Hey, we're back. Hour 2 right here at the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. We'll have David Leach coming up here in just a few moments here from Strident Conservative, doing his segment with us this week. And I don't know, my voice, I think I feel like I'm losing my voice. So if I do, just bear with me. Fighting a cold right now, so I'm just feeling a little bit weird right now. Maybe it's the codeine. Codeine might be kicking in. Who knows?
Good. John, you should get more of that. That makes the show go by really fast.
Well, codeine is one of those drugs that it has a weird effect on me. It's kind of like Valium. I remember when I had an accident decades ago, actually, and they put me on Darvon and Valium because I was paralyzed for like 3 days in my legs. Couldn't move anything. And they said, well, you're tensed up. Everything just kind of froze, I guess. And I remember the doctor coming in and going, how do you feel? I said, I hurt like hell, but I don't give a damn. And it's got codeine has the same effect on me. It's kind of like, I know I have these symptoms of the cold and everything, but I don't really care right now. I'm happy. I'm in happy land right now. So it is what it is. Anyway, oh yeah, I know what I wanted to talk about. I want to open up this segment on the wiretapping thing, because this thing, one revelation. This is weird. This is a lesson in politics. To the nth degree. Yeah. When you look at how this thing is playing out, one revelation, something comes out during a hearing, and how both sides can play it to their advantage using the same exact statement or revelation. It is truly amazing to me how they do this. And of course, what I'm talking about is Representative David Nunes revealing the fact that indeed there was information that was collected on Donald Trump and his people, but not necessarily through a warrant that was issued to investigate Donald Trump.
Yes.
Okay, it was what they called, what was it? I'm trying to think of the word here. Something collection.
It was incidental.
Incidental collection. Yes, that's the phrase. And so because of that,
which is code for you're full of crap.
Yeah. So but the way it's being played out here is Nunez is telling us. Nunez is saying there is information here that we now have before us that tells us that, yes, indeed, Donald Trump and his people were surveilled. Okay? So what happens is the left immediately comes out and starts, you revealed something that shouldn't have been revealed. You should have said, you've tainted the investigation now because you put this out there. Of course, they've been touting a fake dossier through the whole thing. And now what they do is they turn around and counter and say, well, we now have information that Donald Trump was collaborating with the Russians.
Hi, my name's Hillary Clinton. Would you like to get some uranium from us?
So the point being here is that one side is saying, well, this reveals...
Because that seemed to catch you off guard, John. I'm sorry. I caught you off guard. Sorry. Donald Trump was just an incidental victim of surveillance. Bullcrap. Okay. And so what is Schiff, congressman from California, all upset about? Because Nunez went and told Donald Trump. Well, guess what? If Hillary Clinton was in office right now and Schiff was the majority leader of that particular committee and he found the same thing out, guess what would happen? He would go run into Hillary Clinton to let her know.
Oh, yeah. They would turn around and Hillary Clinton was being surveilled at the behest of at the bequest of Donald Trump or the Republican Party or whatever. So anyway, look, I just wanted to throw it out because we're going to talk about it more when we get back here. We've got David Lynch hanging in the wings out here. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Strident Conservative, so don't be a butthead.
Hello, America. This is David Leach, the Strident Conservative. Donald Trump released his first budget proposal last week, and even though it fails to address the real reason America is nearly bankrupt, he did include some suggestions for cost-cutting. For example, he suggested cuts to defund the National Endowment of the Arts, or the NEA. And while $150 million is pretty small when you look at a nearly $4 trillion budget, it's still the right call for two reasons. One, any cut is a good cut. And number two, taxpayers should not be subsidizing so-called art. Why do I say so-called? Well, do you remember the work of art that became known as Piss Christ? This artistic expression was nothing but a photograph of a crucifix submerged in a glass filled with the artist's urine. Or maybe you're familiar with a work of art known as the period piece, so named by the female artist who had collected a year's worth of her menstrual blood and then used it to create paintings representing a year's worth of PMS. While it can hardly be argued that the government should have no part in financing these things, Mike Huckabee thinks otherwise. Quote, I do care greatly about the real recipients of endowment funds, the kids in poverty, for whom the NEA program may be their only chance to learn to play an instrument, test drive their God-given creativity, and develop a passion for those things that civilize and humanize us all. End quote. You know, if the huckster really believed in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, spoken of by our founding fathers, then he would know that God-given creativity can be found without government. And of course, as his statement proves, he's really just a big government progressive. So of course he thinks the government should spend our money on such foolishness. We need to cut the debt, and it's only a start. But defunding the NEA absolutely needs to happen. If you have a comment on this topic, visit stridentconservative.com.
Hey folks, John Matthews here from the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, the Conservative Syndicate. The debate regarding who should be accredited with defining insanity as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results lends to its own insanity. Whether Albert Einstein, Ben Franklin, or Rita Mae Brown coined the adage or not, its meaning is as true as the fact the sun will rise and set tomorrow. In much the same fashion, citizens across our great republic today are debating whether or not it is time to change course regarding the accepted established norms of our political system. Is it time to create a new party or continue to expect different results after electing the same people, keeping our current system? Partisanship, corruption, and the desire to maintain power for the sake of power by those we elect, reinforced by decades of empty promises trotted out each election cycle but never fulfilled, has left America frustrated, angry, and rebellious to degrees not seen since the Civil War. The only viable solution is to quit adhering to the insanity of doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. This is why the Conservative Party USA exists. The Conservative Party USA arose during the Tea Party Rebellion in 2010. It seeks to rectify the insanity that defines the consistent failures and corruption of the current two-party system by nominating and supporting candidates who are committed to imposing the conservative principles of fiscal discipline, restraining the reach of the federal government as outlined in the Constitution, and defending America's traditional family values. If you're tired of witnessing the insanity that dominates our political system, check us out at conservativepartyusa.org. That's conservativepartyusa.org.
History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them their potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring.
My job is not to represent the world. My job is to represent the United States of America.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
All right, hey, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservative. The article with the Daily Mail regarding the wiretapping.
Yeah, so you know the article says it's titled 7 other things that you should know about Trump being vindicated on the wiretapping. It should be quotes in air quotes there about wiretap. How about we'll just call it surveillance, okay? But that's not that's part of the other mantra that you said wiretapping. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny as John Nolte, who wrote this piece, he goes, as far as this wasn't a wiretap nonsense, it reminds me of someone accusing a 70-year-old Trump's age of lying when it claims that someone stole his record collection after the bad guys only found with the old man's iPod. You said records. Where's the vinyl? Where's the vinyl? Where's the vinyl? Okay, so not for a second did I imagine Trump meant an actual physical phone tap, like he'd see on, this guy's really showing his age here, Mike Connors do on Mannix. Welcome to the 21st century pendants. I think he meant peasants. I don't know. Who knows what he meant there, but it's kind of funny. Yeah, there was surveillance going on, Donald Trump, at Trump Tower. And as we had Scott Faulkner on the other day, and it's really easy to do, especially if they were doing phone collection. All you need is one of those, let's see, what was that thing called again? Let's see, I think I have it still up here. Oh, no, I don't have it up here. But there's that device. Stingray is what it is. Stingray. It simulates being a cell tower, and it just collects all the phone conversations going through certain cell phone towers. And so it's just like, hey, cell phones, I'm just a real cell phone tower. You can use me before I hand you off to the next tower. And that's how cell phones work. Hence the term cell phone and cell towers. So anyhow, you had something there, John?
No, go ahead. I was going to give you the name Stingray. I'm sitting here listening to you as I try to get David on here.
Yeah, I couldn't remember Stingray, but then I caught it. I wanted to call it wire shark or something like that. I knew it's something crazy. Had some kind of fish involved with it. But anyway, Stingray. So he goes on to say, I'll make this point clear below, but for now, put your Trump shoes on. One, the leaking is everywhere, including Mike Flynn's telephone calls and the president's own calls with foreign leaders. Now, guess what? This is in transition to taking over the executive branch of our nation. And gee, do you think the president-elect might actually talk to other dignitaries and such during the ramp up to taking over the office? You know, as Mr. Faulkner said on the show, hey, we'd really appreciate it if you swing by. We're going to have a little get-together for you at our embassy. Swing by to welcome. We'd just like to have you there, blah, 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 and that kind of thing. The media knew about all of this, intrigue about all of this. Yes, the media knew. The media report after the media report revealed that the Obama administration obtained all the surveillance warrants on you and your team. The New York Times.
Yeah, the New York Times. New York Times. Okay. Hey, let's see if we got David here. David, are you there?
I'm here. How you doing, guys?
All right. We finally got you hooked up here. All right. Okay, great. All right. What we're talking about here is the revelation here. We were talking about the double-sided thing, the way this thing is played. This investigation right now, this FBI investigation on quote-unquote collusion between the Russians and the Donald Trump campaign. And the revelation came out the other day. Representative David Nunes revealed the other day, or confirmed, something that we all thought about anyways, that there is such a thing as incidental collection, that there was apparently a visa warrant that had been issued on some other Russian officials who happened to be, I guess, hanging out in the Trump Towers. That we're going under that assumption. We don't know what they were doing or where they were at. But there was this visa warrant that was issued. And in the process of this, there was incidental collection that occurred that caught up Michael Flynn and Donald Trump and some of the other people in the Trump campaign. And the left was really upset about the fact that this had been revealed during the investigation instead of, I guess, in a summary at the end of the investigation. But the right away, everybody's coming out saying, well, this vindicates Donald Trump, that indeed there was, quote unquote, some wiretapping going on. There was surveillance being conducted, and it was done under a warrant. Now, the left automatically comes out now and says, oh, well, this is bad that you guys revealed this thing. This is unethical and everything else, while they're touting a British dossier from a retired MI6 agent that everybody else has debunked. And that's the premise of their argument. In the course of their statements now is that, no, it isn't that we're vindicating Donald Trump that he was surveilled. What is proving is that Donald Trump did collude with the Russians. So we have everybody's taking what little evidence has been revealed and using it to their respective slants or skews as to what this thing is really about. And I wanted to get your take on that. That was kind of a long dissertation, but I hope I gave you enough here. How do you see this thing playing out?
Well, I'm a skeptic, and I guess I'll have to say that right up front. First of all, I do believe that the Obama administration has been involved in doing some things that were less than scrupulous. We'll just say it that way. And I also believe, however, that this is just me, but I believe that there's some things that Donald Trump does not want us to know about his relationship with Russia. And quite honestly, just as a side thought, I think this is becoming a little bit of a distraction and indirectly validating maybe some information that we should know. And the incidental information, by the way, obviously, if you have a legal warrant to wiretap one individual, you're obviously going to be picking up their conversations with other individuals. I mean, it's possible, although, again, knowing Obama the way we know him, unlikely, that that really was just incidental information and not a deliberate wiretap of Donald Trump and his campaign per se. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah. Now I'm going to come back at you with my take on this, because I too am not in my court. nothing has been provided that will completely vindicate Donald Trump. When we had Scott Faulkner on earlier in the week, who's working with the Trump transition team, and I posed a question to him. I guess the thing we really need to know, and Scott confirmed, this is the big question, is that especially when we talk about Michael Flynn, we'll single out one person here and just say, okay, Michael Flynn got caught up in the incidental collection of information, but the question has to be asked. One thing Scott did clarify to us, the conversation that Michael Flynn had with the Russian official was during the transition phase and not during the campaign phase. So he said those kind of things go on all the time. He said, in fact, these kind of conversations take place every second in Washington when you talk about it within this aspect of it. But the idea is, I said, but the question remains unanswered, is that what would Michael Flynn be talking to a Russian official for? That's the unanswered question. He says, yeah, that is the unanswered question. It's not a matter of whether he was talking. It's what was being conducted. If it was a standard operating phone call, we're having a dinner or something, we want you to come, that's within the confines of business. If it's nefarious, if we get elected, we're going to help you with the sanction things or something like that, that is criminal, but we don't know what that is. And this is what's allowing, my point is, this is what's allowing both sides to be able to use whatever's happening to further their agenda. Now, in terms of what you just said, in terms of Barack Obama or his people innocently gathering this information, I think that's far-fetched. That's an illusion. There's no doubt in my mind.
That's what I said.
There's no doubt in my mind that this was perhaps this vice warrant, was issued for the very purpose of saying, okay, because the one thing Scott brought up to us the other day is if it was incidental collection, that's one thing. But the fact that it was actually transcribed and then disseminated, that's the violation of federal law that we're talking about here. And therefore, regardless of what the information was, it was illegally obtained and illegally disseminated, and that's where the crime is at. So does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely does. Though, in the case of Mike Flynn, see, here's part of the thing that kind of muddies the waters quite a bit. I mean, we have had subsequent revelations about his involvement with Turkey, and these are things that were going on and never disclosed, and and I think when you throw that into the mix, it's hard to, at least for me, again, being a skeptic of the Trump administration, it's hard for me to look at this situation and see Trump as being 100% innocent and vindicated. Now, while there may have been some illegalities on the other side of the ball, I don't know. I just personally... Yeah. I think my conclusion would be what you said just a few moments ago. Both sides are using this for their own political advantage.
Yeah, and in that light here, it would be. Again, I'm not so delusional about Donald Trump to think that this guy is completely innocent on all fronts on everything. I've never played that. Our support for voting him in the first place was just for the Supreme Court. I didn't expect too much out of him other than that. But when we look at how this thing, what we have here is the Republicans' version of the Podesta emails. Okay, the question is it more important that the emails were hacked or fished and that they were revealed, or is it more important what the emails contained? It's kind of that's how it's being played out here. Are we going to disregard the fact that maybe there is evidence that something was going on, or are we going to be more focused on the fact of how that information was obtained? That's where I think the fine line is, and that is going to be the determining factor as to how this thing plays out. Does that make sense?
It does, but again, now the waters have been muddied. You've got Devin Nunes going to the White House and basically briefing him on this whole thing about the incidental surveillance and everything, and that was way out of line. I mean, in an active investigation, to go and talk to one of the parties involved and say, yeah, here's what's going on, just thought you'd like to know. Now, he's trying to whitewash it and make it sound like it was no big deal, but that was a serious violation of his responsibility, in my opinion.
Now, along that line, let me ask you this question. Why has nobody addressed the fact that the left, the people on the committee from the Democrat Party, continue to tout this dossier from a British MI6 agent that everybody else has trashed and said it's junk, it's garbage? Why do they continue to be able to tout this out as the premise of their argument, and nobody's saying, hey, you're violating the ethics of the thing. You're the one screwing this thing up?
That's a good question. I don't have an answer for that because I agree with you. I think that's equally abhorrent in this whole situation.
Yeah, and to me, that's the $64 question. I mean, all these things, this whole entire gambit that we're running here regarding this election process and everything else, it always comes down to, well, is it more unethical how information was obtained, or is it more unethical what the information actually is? They're saying, well, Hillary Clinton, the fact that all this information was damaging hurt her chances in the election, like that's a bad thing. Who cares how the information got out there? It wasn't disseminated illegally. It was not obtained illegally. It wasn't. Podesta's emails weren't hacked. He was phished. He fell for the old tactic. Okay, so
sure.
All is fair in love and war. Hey, look, we got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion here with David Leach from Strident Conservative. I want to get his take on the Gorsuch confirmation hearings and the promised filibuster by the Democrats. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
Red State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
Red State Talk Radio is now available as a voice command on your Amazon Echo and Echo Dot by simply saying, Alexa, play Red State Talk Radio.
Red State Talk Radio on TuneIn.
Are you behind on your taxes? The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294.
Sometimes when you compare prices on products, you think to yourself, what difference does it make? The rates are all about the same anyway, but sometimes the rates are very different. Let me give you an example where there's a huge difference in pricing between companies. Vehicle protection plans. Look, if your car is 4 years or older, having a vehicle protection plan is a no-brainer. The trick is not to overpay for it. Here are the facts. The average price of a vehicle protection plan is $2,800, while the price of a TOCO warranty vehicle protection plan for most vehicles is just $1,500. The average down payment on a vehicle protection plan is $299. With TOCO warranty, there's no down payment. The average monthly payment on a vehicle protection plan is more than $160 a month. With TOCO, the average monthly payment is just $49. To get a highly rated vehicle protection plan at a great low rate, call TOCO Warranty at 1-800-987-1519. That's 1-800-987-1519. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for MyPillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. MyPillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable MyPillow is with its patented interlocking fill. MyPillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. MyPillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. MyPillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. MyPillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code RedState. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code RedState. Put sleepless nights behind you with MyPillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
If you've got joint pain, let me ask you a question. Would you like a high-quality knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? But just in case your reception isn't great, let me ask you again. Would you like a pain-relieving knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Well, if you have Medicare insurance, you could qualify for these pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And these are high-quality braces. They are very comfortable, and they've helped thousands relieve their pain. Now, I'd like you to imagine going on vacation, playing with your grandkids, just living your life again without pain. The Mobility Hotline is a referral service that connects folks with Medicare coverage and other insurance to accredited companies offering pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And don't you worry about the Medicare paperwork. They'll handle it all for you. And they'll deliver your braces for free. Call the Mobility Hotline now. The call's free. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150.
Are you struggling with addiction or alcohol problems? If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help, and your insurance may offer coverage.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-518-1573, 800-518-1573.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-518-1573, 800-518-1573.
Red State Talk Radio. Real radio for real Americans.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
All right. Hey, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hagos. We've got David Leach checking in to do his weekly segment with us from Strident Conservative. David, what's your take on the Ryan Care crash and burn today?
Well, I'm thrilled to death. I mean, I'm glad that it fell apart. It was, of course, as we most conservatives know, it was a repeal in name only. It was basically Obamacare light. It was given the name Ryan Care, Rhino Care, Trump Care. All of those things were a clear indication that this was a bad bill all the way around. However, I think some of the fallout, unfortunately, is not going to be good for conservatives. I see some things, some disturbing early signals that, groups such as the House Freedom Caucus being thrown under the bus and blamed when, down the road here a little ways, we still have Obamacare and we still have all the disasters with Obamacare, and Trump's going to be able to throw his hands up and say, well, if it wasn't for those nasty conservatives, we would have repealed this thing, even though the repeal wouldn't have been a repeal. So it's mixed. I'm very happy that it failed. Hopefully it is something that can be picked up again, not too far in the distant future. There's a feeling that Trump should have really focused on the thing that got him in office, and that was his promise to turn the economy around. Tax cuts, things to improve job creation, those types of things. He could have gotten some real easy victories with the Republican majority in Congress that could have laid the foundation for a smoother transition into the repeal of Obamacare. Here's my other thing, though. Quite honestly, I don't think the Republicans want it gone. I think they didn't like Obamacare because the Democrats ran it. They wanted their own version of Obamacare with the Republicans in charge, and I think that was true from the White House on down.
Yeah, and Joe had brought up the thought earlier, and I want to, within line of what you were just saying here, that Trump may have done the wrong. Trump may have been guilty of the same mistake that Obama was, expending his political capital on, forcing Obamacare on us. And Joe had mentioned earlier that this, he believes this falls squarely in the lap of Reince Priebus, that Reince Priebus is the problem here and not so much the Republicans.
I don't have much of a problem with that. In fact, I think there's a lot of validity to that because, quite honestly, I think Trump and his puppet master, Steve Bannon, were pretty much only going along for the ride on Obamacare repeal, even during the campaign. Trump didn't have any sincere convictions one way or the other about Obamacare. He favored a lot of the things in Obamacare, and in fact, that's why the Rhino Care was so bad, because Rhino Care had a lot of those things in there, like being insured to your 26 and allowing pre-existing conditions and those types of things. And so I think he kind of went along for the ride to begin with. And so that kind of comes back to what you were saying.
Yeah. Your comments, Joe?
No, I still think it's, if there's anything to be blamed on, it should come down on Ryan and Priebus. They were the ones that pushed this through. Thank goodness the Freedom Caucus was there to put the kibosh on this. So, we didn't have to put up with this. And then to hear President Trump go, this was the Democrats own this. They always owned this until today, when they almost had the Republicans put their name on it. Once they would have done something like that today, they would have passed that thing today, then it would have been Republicans, and that would have hung around their necks. And then look out, there goes threatening the majorities they have in Congress, and then quite possibly making Trump a one-term president too.
Yeah, that's something we have to look at. What do you think, David? Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
We have a little bit of a delay again. I've been reading some stories today, speaking of Ryan, and how he's basically going to take the fall for this, that may have been part of the plan. Let's go back to the primary season and actually into the election season. Paul Ryan was no fan of Donald Trump, even went on the record that he was not going to support him. I think there was a little bit, I think we've seen with other political members who haven't kind of just embraced the whole Trump move, there's payback that comes from the Donald Trump people, him and Steve Bannon. Bannon absolutely hates Paul Ryan, sees him as the establishment rhino, which he is an establishment rhino, but he sees establishment rhinos differently than conservatives do. We see it as a way of roadblocking conservative momentum. Steve Bannon and Donald Trump see it as a way of roadblocking their new nationalistic alt-right momentum. And so even though we both see him as a rhino, we see him as a rhino with different consequences. And so I think it's going to be interesting over the next few weeks to see how much of the fallout that it's going to go toward Ryan, because he was the one who was kind of putting this all together, but how much the White House is going to increase that pressure against Paul.
Yeah, here's something. I just, whenever stuff like this takes place and it occurs outside the noise that we're hearing in the electorate, Donald Trump was elected for the purpose of repealing Obamacare, not repealing and replacing. Now, as you said earlier, he was not a big, I don't see Donald Trump as somebody that's a big champion for social issues, and I think Obamacare kind of falls within that category. What I'm getting at here is, I had made a statement last week, and maybe sometime during the week, this week also, that I do not believe that the Republicans are really worried about preserving the majorities in Congress. Okay? And the reason I say that is because the Republicans have shown especially during the Obama administration, a propensity to not govern. And basically what it is, complicity. We govern by complicity. We just stand off the side and we let everybody, make the noise and everything, and we tell everybody we're conservatives, and then we end up caving. I'm wondering, this is just my conspiratorial side that pops up when stuff like this happens, that this Ryan Care bill was put out there knowing that it was going to fail, for the purpose of being able to now perhaps come 2018 be able to target some of the Freedom Caucus members and some of the more conservative members in the House and say, look, these are the guys that are keeping us from doing what we said we were going to do, which was repeal and replace. To me, I don't find that a very it's not a big stretch for me to see that they could actually be using something like this, knowing that it was unpopular, for their political advantage to try to restore order in the establishment that runs the Republican Party. Does that make sense?
That absolutely does. And here I will give you a Big 10-4 on that, in fact, because Trump verbatim threatened Meadows, for example, saying, I'm coming after you. I mean, I don't believe for a minute that, or I don't have a problem, I should say, for a minute, that Trump actually, here's how I see it. Let me get back on track here. I think Trump was okay with Ryan Care because it was a win-win situation for him. If Ryan Care goes through, then for the next year to two, he could say, hey, I kept my promise to repeal Obamacare, even though we all know that's not what had happened. That's what they've been calling it, and he would be able to say that. So then a few years down the road, when it all falls apart, he could say, well, hey, it wasn't my deal, it was Paul Ryan. Conversely, if it fails to get passed, like this happened so far, he can then say, hey, I want to repeal Obamacare, I want to fix what's wrong with it, but these lousy conservatives won't let me do it. And so I think because he has no moral compass when it comes to the Obamacare issue, that he saw this as a no-lose situation. You know, Mr. Winner, Mr. Art of the Deal, is in here saying, well, you know what, I win either way. If it goes through, I win because it's not exactly what we promised, but I don't have to take the fall for it. And if we lose, well, then I win again because I can say, hey, I wanted to repeal Obamacare. So I agree with you, Joe. John, I think that's exactly what's going to probably happen in the months ahead. As we get ready for 2018, I think you're going to see more of the conservatives, the Freedom Caucus type conservatives primaried, and I think you're going to see the establishment. You're going to see Mitch McConnell, who already has targeted conservatives. He's been doing that for years. You're going to see Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan join hands with Trump to get rid of some of the conservatives that they see as an obstruction to advancing their agenda.
So you're thinking, you've taken it just a step farther than I have. I've been putting this in the hands of Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and some of the, hardcore establishment operatives there. You're saying that actually Trump is in collusion with them then to remove conservatives.
That goes back to what I was saying earlier. They see, conservatives see rhinos in a certain light, and so does the Trump campaign or the Trump administration. And we see them both as people like Ryan as rhinos but we see them as rhinos with different implications. I see them as a rhino getting in the way of conservatism. They see them as rhinos getting in the way of their new nationalism. Well, the same thing is, look at that like a three-legged peg, or a three-legged stool, I mean. So now, if you look at it, okay, the rhinos look at conservatives as somebody who's in the way of them advancing their agenda, and the nationalists see conservative. Trump said during the campaigin, he says, we're not the conservative party, we're the Republican Party.
Oh, I get that. Yeah, I get that. We've never been under the delusion that Donald Trump is in any way a conservative, but that's an interesting point because basically what you have is two movements within the party that are trying to eliminate the conservatives because the conservatives are the only ones blocking it.
The enemy of the enemy is my friend.
Yeah, I get you. That makes a lot of sense. I want to get your take on that, but we got to go to a break here first. Short break here. When we get back, I want to Joe, you give me your thoughts on that. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
Since its founding, America has always been admired and envied throughout the world for its system of government, one that empowers its citizens to seek their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No other country or nation in history has benefited from its diversity simply due to the opportunities available to anyone from anywhere. But there have been and are those who envy our freedom for a very different reason. And today we find ourselves as never before being threatened by this formidable foe intent on our destruction. For this reason, Act for America exists. Act for America is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan, grassroots national security organization with over 300,000 members and 1,000 chapters focused on educating, engaging, and mobilizing citizens and elected officials to impact legislative outcomes to protect America against terrorism both here and abroad. As a result, our network has driven the education process toward the successful passage of 43 bills in 22 states. We continue to expand our nationwide volunteer chapter network, training citizens to recognize and help prevent criminal activity and terrorism in the United States while preserving the civil liberties protected by the United States Constitution. To find out more, check us out at actforamerica.org. That's actforamerica.org.
We need to keep illegals out.
Am I not speaking English? The ConservativeSyndicate.net, where we speak only one language, American.
All right. Hey, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. We've been discussing the Ryan Care crash and burn today and the political maneuvering and what it could entail and how it could play out, especially coming up in 2018. David has taken this to a place where I hadn't really fully gone myself here. I am under the understanding that the conservatives are kind of a hindrance, but I really kind of thought that Donald Trump would look at the conservatives as more his allies than his enemies. But David brings up a little bit. He brings up I think a very viable paradigm here. And Joe, I wanted to get your take on that. What do you think about what David just said?
Well, yeah, I think if you look at what Ryan said today, we did not have quite the votes to replace this law. And so, yeah, we're going to be living with Obamacare with the foreseeable future. I don't know how long it's going to take us to replace this law. Well, yeah, sure. Because don't you think that the simple thing for them to do was to put the repeal bill that they put on Obama's desk last year? That would have been the simple. And so he didn't have the votes to replace this law. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he had the votes to repeal it if that's what they wanted to do. Gee, that would have made everybody happy. But then they would not have been able to go ahead and use this defeat as a cudgel to beat the conservatives now.
Yeah, now, as David was talking, I flashed back to what Ryan said today. In the first hour, I think at the top of this hour, last hour, we brought this up. And you said that Paul Ryan today was attributing the vote delay or the delay of the vote or the decision not to bring it to the floor because he said these are the growing pains that come from moving from an opposition party to a governing party. And we were talking about, what are you talking about? You're supposed to always be the governing party, but you govern as conservatives. You govern as I said here, the adage that you'll hear from me from probably now to eternity now is what? If in doubt, don't. Okay? You don't vote on something just because you've got to feel that you've got to do something. Now, here's the thing. When Paul Ryan talks about being the opposition party, he's not talking about just being the opposition party to the Democrats. He's also talking about being the opposition party to the Freedom Caucus. And so what David says now kind of puts that into a thought process or a paradigm here that I can totally grasp and say, hey, I guess with the conservatives, it's us against the world. It must be what we've come down to here. Would you agree, David?
You put the words right in my mouth. I agree with you completely, and I do believe it's kind of the conservatives against the world. Daniel Horowitz at Conservative Review, I get to feature his work on my website from time to time, and he just recently came out with a piece basically saying that I'm paraphrasing the title, but it was basically the trials of a conservative trapped in a Republican body. It's like they're really, we used to. Conservatism and Republicans being a Republican used to be synonymous. They used to be one and the same thing. That's not the case anymore. And I believe it's basically because the Republican establishment, the McConnells and the Ryans and the McCains and all those guys, they love their power. And I remember Eric Erickson saying during the midterms, the last round of midterms back in 2014, saying that Mitch McConnell would rather be a minority leader in hell than just a part of the team in heaven.
Yeah, I get you there. I get you there.
And that's exactly it.
Yeah, that fits my take on this. I told Joe, I said this last week, I wouldn't be surprised if Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan care whether they have a majority or not. I think that's pretty obvious right now. As long as we're in and we have our position, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference at all who actually controls the show, who's running the show. Hey, David, we're at the end of our time with you today, and I wanted to give you a moment because I want to give you a moment to plug what you're doing out there at Strident Conservative.
Appreciate that very much. StridentConservative.com. StridentConservative.com. My commentaries, as you're aware, because you play them during your show, and Red Nation Rising plays them throughout the day, are available on the radio. In fact, if any of your listeners listen to a terrestrial radio station for conservative news, let your local radio station know that the Strident Conservative is available. It doesn't cost them anything. Those 2-minute commentaries are a great addition to most radio lineups. But again, StridentConservative.com. Coming up on Monday, we're probably going to be talking a little bit about some of the indirect implications of the fact that the health care bill went down in flames today. And that may be what we talk about for a few days next week on my website and also in my commentaries.
Well, you brought something up today that I'm going to have to spend the weekend examining too, because I now see several different strategies that are being played here rather than just one who's running the show. It's more like who needs to be eliminated, that kind of thing. I gotta digest. I gotta process this because this opens up a whole new thing. And I think makes it even more important that we start looking, in my opinion, we start looking at another party. We need another party that can stand against all of this. And so we'll see how that all plays out. Thanks so much, David, for coming on with us today. I appreciate it. And I so look forward. I love hearing your stuff every day. And we'll look forward to having you back on next week. Okay. All right, guys.
See you guys next week.
All right, Joe, we got about a minute and a half here before we actually kick it into gear. It's Friday. We always do a special closing on Friday. Do you have any closing comments for the week, Joe?
Well, I just think we're going to find out how exciting it's going to be. We're going to watch the Democrat Party, especially in the Senate, with Schumer trying to push the filibuster. I mean, they're going to go out and that's what they're going to do. They're going to not keep their powder dry, so to speak. They're going to actually go out and go against Gorsuch on this, and this is just fairly ridiculous. I don't know if George Washington could have picked a better pick for the Supreme Court on this. This guy, as Bob Cordoza said, this guy is rock solid. He's there. He doesn't believe in legislating from the bench. He believes that the law is the law. He's there to not write law. He's there to go ahead and make sure the law is fair for everybody and apply that law and see how it's done. And so seeing that Schumer can't get away from his partisan ways, it's just going to be, it's like, wow, it doesn't really matter anymore. Since, like I said, 2003, it doesn't matter. These people don't care. And to use it, this was Barack Obama's seat to fill. I'm sorry. Every president in the history knew better that in your lame duck session, you're not going to get a Supreme Court nominee in. Right. So don't even try it. But yet Obama, being the great one that he was, said, well, I'm going to do it anyway because I'm the Barack Obama. And
yeah, so I agree. And my contention is Jesus Christ could have been the nominee, and they would have said he supports religious freedom, so we can't have him. It would have been something along that line. We got to go, guys. Check us out at the conservativesyndicate.net. We'll talk to you next week. We love you. Take care.
Guide me to who you want me to help. Raise up more that will call upon your name. Raise up those that love you and seek you and trust you. Raise them up, Lord. Raise them up. Lord, we need a generation of believers who are not ashamed of the gospel. We need an army of believers, Lord, that hate to be lukewarm and will stand on your word above all else. Raise them up, Lord, raise them up. I pray for unity among those that love you. I pray that you open their eyes so that they can see your truth, Lord. I pray for your hand of protection and guidance. Raise up a generation, Lord, that will take light into this world, that will not compromise when under pressure, that will not cower, Lord, when others fall away. Raise them up, Lord, that they will proclaim that there is salvation in the name of Jesus Christ. Raise up warriors, Lord, who will fight on their knees, who will worship you with their whole hearts, Lord. Lord, call us to battle, that we may proclaim you King of kings and Lord of lords. I pray these things with all my heart. Raise them up, Lord, raise them up.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's theconservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best in uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, along with Joe Hako, signing off until next time right here at the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.